So once again, Hollywood knows about the reality we live in. They know about the center of the flat earth plane. They know that we are a computer simulation, and they rub it in our face constantly. And once again, in the Matrix movie, Morpheus here showing you that they have turned us into a battery. So here he's holding up a Duracell battery. And what do batteries need? Well, they need to be charged because they do get drained. And because we are batteries, and in this one, he holds up the Duracell, which is a copper top battery, meaning that we need a copper-based diet. So I suggest you look up some copper-based diet, some foods that are rich in copper. And to charge our battery, which we are, sun gazing. Once again, it all comes down to sun gazing. Sun gazing charges your batteries. All once in a while, look right into the sun for a few seconds, 10 seconds, and charge myself up. I feel more energized. Do that right in the middle of the day. Do it to the extent where it doesn't hurt my eyes, but I can feel being charged. So once again, it all comes down to sun gazing. All the knowledge we need is inborn, but we've been distracted by society. It's designed this way. So we got to get to the center of the flat earth plane to get out of this illusion, to wake up from our dream and get to our real bodies. So we should all be doing the blood over intent, because you have to prove your intent, publish it on the internet. I intend to bring forth heaven on earth, upload it to YouTube, put 3 or 4 drops of blood on it, look up those videos, and we need to be blood thicker than water, because we can't do it alone. We have to have a mass exodus. So we need to be blood thicker than water.
3. Fucking D. The foundation of hypnosis. On the chart below, the light beam chart at the bottom represents a two-dimensional demonstration of the atom. The light beam just above it is laid flat in a distorted 3D form, and the center point is implied to be pulled upwards as indicated by the red line with the arrow at the top. This repeating circular motion layers one thought upon another thought, in a seemingly endless spiral, or cycle. This is the source for the concept of God, as the electrified atom, the electron, manifests a different image as different thoughts or light patterns are overlaid one upon the other. This in turn creates all subliminal messages, and ultimately hypnotic control. The concept of God, and the divine is likewise founded on this use of repetition, or multiple circles. This results in the notion of as above, in heaven, so below, on earth. The word divine equals diving the illusion of depth, all symbols in the 3D illusion that relate to such things as the $sign, the winding river, the arcing iron, the slithering serpent, the spiral staircase, the curvaceous woman, the mother. All come when the specified suggestion is presented by the Luciferian egregore group of thinkers. This process of continual repetition conjures up the illusion of a physical spring, and is the source for the season called spring. When living organisms burst forth through the regeneration process, which in turn is the hypnosis process, and further perpetuates the 3D illusion. Current, electricity, water, time, money. The chart immediately above lists how the term current applies to electricity, water, time and money. The thought process is so completely flawed that they must use the same term, albeit in a subliminal sense, or the illusion falls apart. The current of flowing electricity, water, time and money conjures up, and supports, and perpetuates the 3D illusion. Without this constant flow of thought, the 3D life experience would cease. On the old city walls of Jerusalem, one of the north gates, at the east end of the wall, was called Herod's Gate. Herod equals door. It was also called the Flower Gate. The name flower refers to the flowing principle of the 3D illusion. When comparing the old city walls of Jerusalem to the Pacific Ocean, see page 16, the Flower Gate coincides with northern Canada, the Arctic and Greenland. This is the area that the Luciferian agenda has symbolically included in their hideous plan, to be the source of a massive flowing of water to cleanse the earth. In modern terms, this is referred to as global warming and global climate change. Climate equals milk flood, 8. Control change equals Kaj equals king. The term climate change is actually suggesting that it's time to have the king take control through the flood event. This is all part of the marriage supper of the Lamb. All this must be considered based on the fact that this is intentional, mass hypnotic and extremely sinister manipulation of reality. From a rational perspective, this symbolic ramble makes no sense. However, being that everything is based on the thought process, wherein all shapes, sounds and colors are only based on the suggestions of the Luciferian egregore group of thinking entities, who refer to themselves as the gods, then one must conclude that this is what the illusion truly is. The thought process conjured up a word, which is a sound, which vibrates. Vibration is energy, energy glows and glowing is light. This light is the electrified atom, the ion. The ion is measured in currents that flow. Water is measured in currents that flow. Time is measured as current that moves to the future. Money is measured in currency that must remain fluid. The iron, water, time and money are one and the same, and all manifest the appearance of space. It's this space concept that manifests the illusion of life, and the event known as death. From the moment of birth, until the moment of death, the intellectual systems of the world manipulate reality for gain. The medical system, the legal system, the insurance system, the banking system, the military system, the corporate system, etc. All these systems perpetuate the illusion of time and space and all flourish, or flow in prosperity and control, as they create and manifest to distraction that disconnects our focus from our eternal paradise state. The medical system alone swallows 1/6 of the USA budget on its own. The system was designed as such, going back to the initial installment of the thought process. The system was designed to instill fear of death, fear of disease, fear of some illusory hell, and fear of some unseen God. This fear is summed up with the subliminal used relentlessly throughout this illusory reality. 666, 666.
His name is Eric Dubay, and he is an author of 3 books, and he's written Asbestos Head, Atlantean Conspiracy, and Spiritual Science. He's also an award-winning poetry writer. He's taught English, and he also teaches martial arts. So we're really looking forward to having him on. And now your most recent book that you've written is entitled Spiritual Science. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if we could talk a little bit about that first. Would that be okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Great. And now, in your book, you basically took classical physics versus modern or new physics, and you really did a great job, actually, breaking it down into layman's terms, and I think made like a handbook for life, really, with that. In your book, you asked and answered a few questions, and I wanted to ask you some of them on air. One of them is, who are we?
Or who aren't we? Are we our physical bodies?
No, I don't believe that we are.
No?
No, I think that's the lowest form of what we are, actually.
Right. So what would be a step above that then?
Just something a little more cognizant of what we're giving back to the world, really, in my opinion. You know, if we're thinking about it a little bit more, I mean, really anything above what we're doing right now is better.
So yeah, if we aren't our physical bodies, and it seems that way when you look at science, says that every cell in our body is replaced every 5 to 7 years. So if that's the case, how could any piece of us that we take to be our intangible self that hasn't changed ever since we were a kid up until now, that little thing that we feel as I, it can't be physical if every physical bit of our body has changed over and over again since childhood. So there must be some sort of non-physical continuum, which people call the soul or consciousness. It seems that there's an intangible part of us, and we transmit consciousness into our physical bodies through the brain, as opposed to consciousness coming from the brain, which is what classical physics says. Instead, I argue that consciousness is a priori. Consciousness is what comes first. And in fact, the one consciousness, infinite consciousness, God, whatever you'd want to call that, that would be the first thing before the Big Bang. Materialist science likes to take everything all the way back to a Big Bang. And before that, there was no space, no time, no matter, But then suddenly, for no reason, out of nothing, came everything. In this sneezing Big Bang singularity, everything comes from that. And so it starts with stars and suns and moons and planets, and then water, and then life comes out of the water and changes from form into form, from a fish to a frog to a monkey, and then to humans. And somewhere along all that, consciousness just magically comes into existence. That's the scientific materialist paradigm. They'd like you to believe that for no reason, nothing became everything we see today, and just because of the physical evolution and adaptation with no intelligence behind it, life, intelligence, consciousness, and our complex internal immaterial worlds of emotion and thought and everything just arose by accident. And scientists have actually, mathematicians have done the odds against our universe evolving that way. Even in their paradigm, they say something like, if the physical forces that created life and everything were different just to the slightest degree, none of this would have evolved, and the chances are like 1 to the 22nd, 23rd power, something like that. So for me, that's quite an argument for intelligent design. And I don't even need an argument, to be honest. I can just sit, taste a mango, look at a sunset, hear children's laughter, feel an orgasm, and I can tell that this world was purposefully, intelligently created. And to me, it just seems silly to assume that the world was unintelligently designed and just through coincidental forces, everything came into being accidentally. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. It seems a lot more synchronistic than coincidental for me as well.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Like how do you go from, like you said, having nothing all of a sudden and one day, bang, it's all right there. The front lawn's all nice and manicured. Everybody's like living the perfect life. It just, it does come from thinking. It comes from, like you had said it best. It's like, how do you not have intelligence in the design if intelligence comes from part of the exposure to that life?
Exactly.
There's got to be some kind of, there's got to be some intelligence behind that, backing it up.
And I think that's the originating thing, is that there was only intelligence, and that's what the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, and all these other books, they talk about there being Brahma, which is the original one infinite consciousness, completely objective, all known to itself, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And so imagine if that was your existence, what would you do? I mean, what do you do if, as an infinite being, all known to yourself, all powerful? The Upanishad says that, well, it gets boring. God got bored, and so the only thing he can do is to play hide and seek, to play make-believe, to take subjective packets of himself, create a physical world experience, and then place those subjective packets of consciousness into other physical beings. So you get Wendy and Max and Eric and this dog and that cat and this tree and that rock. But in reality, it's all just Brahma. It's all just God. Think about it. No two trees, no two rocks, no two people are exactly alike.
The Bhumandala disk represents the exoteric domains of the Earth and planets. In contrast, the cosmic axis, extending perpendicular to Bhumandala, is filled with esoteric meaning. It represents the path of ascent or descent of the soul. In addition to the orbits of the sun, moon, and planets, there are different worlds or lokas arrayed above Bhumandala along the cosmic axis. These upper worlds can be entered through mystic cities, and they are accessible only to persons of advanced spiritual consciousness. The Bhagavatam describes the vertical dimension of the Brahmanda as a universal form of God, extending from the lowest world at the soles of the feet to the highest at the crown of the head. In this traditional picture, we see the rings of Bhumandala forming the belt of the universal form. Here the positions of the worlds are indicated in relation to the universal form. The levels in the universal form are associated with the spinal chakras on which yogis meditate, and the spine itself is called Meru Danda, after Mount Meru, the cosmic axis. The ascent of the soul through different levels of the Brahmanda is analogous to the ascent of the life force through the chakras in the body. In general, the vertical dimension of the universe represents the path of ascent or descent of the soul through different worlds in different states of consciousness. It lies perpendicular to the plane of Bhumandala, which is the world of the planetary orbits.